Sam was not a lucky person. He knew this because life reminded him every single day. He was 23 years old, lived in a tiny room above a bakery, and worked at a small repair shop where people brought their broken clocks and watches. The pay was not good, but Sam was good with his hands. He could fix almost anything that had small moving parts inside it. On a cold Tuesday morning, Sam walked to work like he always did. The streets were wet from last night's rain, and the air smelled like bread from the bakery below his room. He pulled his old jacket tighter around himself and walked faster. He was already 5 minutes late, and his boss, Mr. Gerald, did not like it when people were late. The repair shop was a narrow place between a bookstore and a shoe shop. The sign above the door said, "Gerald's Clock and Watch Repair," in faded gold letters. When Sam pushed open the door, the little bell above it rang. Gerald was sitting behind the counter, reading a newspaper. He looked up and gave Sam a cold look. "5 minutes late again," Mr. Gerald said. "Sorry," Sam said. "It won't happen again." "You say that every time," Mr. Gerald said. He folded his newspaper and stood up. "There is a box in the back. Someone left it at the door this morning before I opened. No name on it, no note, just a box. Go look at what is inside and tell me what you find." Sam went to the back of the shop where they kept their tools and spare parts. On the wooden table, there was a brown box. It was old and dusty, about the size of a shoebox. Sam opened it carefully. Inside, wrapped in a piece of dark red cloth, was a pocket watch. Sam picked it up and held it close to his eyes. It was the most beautiful watch he had ever seen. The case was made of some kind of silver metal that felt warm in his hand. On the back, there was a strange design. It looked like a circle, inside another circle with tiny symbols around the edges that Sam did not recognize. They were not numbers or letters from any language he knew. He opened the watch. The face was white with thin black lines for the hours. The hands were made of a dark blue metal, and they were not moving. The watch had stopped. Sam turned it over and looked for the winding knob. He found it on the side, but it was different from any knob he had seen before. It could be pulled out to 3 different positions, not just 1 or 2 like normal watches. Sam pulled it to the first position and turned it. He heard a soft click, and the watch started ticking. The sound was strange. It was deeper than the ticking of a normal watch, almost like a tiny heartbeat. Sam watched the second hand move around the face smoothly. It worked perfectly. "What did you find?" Mr. Gerald called from the front. "A pocket watch," Sam said. "Old one. Silver case. It is working now." Mr. Gerald came to the back and looked at the watch. He put on his glasses and studied it closely. He turned it over many times, looked at the symbols on the back, and frowned. "I have been fixing watches for 40 years, Mr. Gerald said slowly. "I have never seen anything like this. I do not know who made it, I do not know how old it is, and I do not know what those symbols mean." "What should we do with it?" Sam asked. "Nobody came to claim it. There is no name. If nobody asks for it in 30 days, you can have it. Until then, put it in the drawer." Sam placed the watch in the drawer, but all day long he kept thinking about it. There was something about the way it felt in his hand. It was warm, like it was alive, and the ticking sound stayed in his ears even when he was working on other things. That night, Sam could not sleep. He lay on his small bed and stared at the ceiling. The bakery below was closed, and the street outside was empty. But in his mind, he kept seeing the watch, the circles on the back, the strange symbols, the blue hands. He thought about what Mr. Gerald said. 30 days. If nobody came for it, he could keep it. 3 weeks passed. Nobody came to ask about the watch. No one called. No letter arrived. Sam checked the watch every day. He opened the drawer, looked at it, and closed the drawer again. He was waiting. On the 29th day, something happened that changed Sam's life forever. It was a Saturday. The shop was busy with customers. Mr. Gerald was talking to a woman about her grandfather clock, and Sam was at the back table fixing a small wristwatch. The drawer where the pocket watch was kept was right next to him. He could hear the deep ticking sound through the wood. Then a man walked into the shop. Sam did not see him at first. He only heard the bell above the door ring. But then the ticking sound from the drawer changed. It got louder, much louder. Sam looked at the drawer with wide eyes. The whole drawer was shaking slightly, like something inside was trying to get out. Sam opened the drawer. The pocket watch was glowing. A soft blue light was coming from the face, from the hands, from the symbols on the back. Sam picked it up without thinking. It was hot, but it did not burn him. It felt like holding a cup of warm tea. He looked toward the front of the shop. The man who had walked in was standing very still near the door. He was tall and thin, wearing a long black coat. His hair was white, and his eyes were dark. He was looking straight at Sam, not at the watches on the walls, not at Mr. Gerald, just at Sam. The man smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile that said, "I know something you do not know." Then the man turned around and walked out of the shop, and just like that, he was gone. Sam looked down at the watch in his hand. The glowing had stopped. The ticking was back to normal. But Sam's heart was beating fast. He knew, deep in his bones, that the man had come for the watch. But he did not ask for it. He just looked at Sam and left. That night, after Mr. Gerald closed the shop, Sam stayed behind. He told Mr. Gerald he wanted to clean the back room. But the truth was, he wanted to be alone with the watch. Tomorrow was the 30th day. If nobody claimed it, the watch was his. Sam sat at the table and placed the watch in front of him. The room was quiet. The only sound was the deep ticking. Sam looked at the 3 positions of the winding knob. He had only used the first position to start the watch. He had never tried the second or the third. His fingers moved toward the knob. He pulled it to the second position. Nothing happened for a moment. Then Sam noticed something. The clock on the wall had stopped. The old round clock that always ticked loudly had gone completely silent. Its hands were not moving. Sam looked at the window. Outside, a bird had been flying past, but now it was frozen in the air. Not falling, not moving, just hanging there in the sky like a picture. Sam stood up slowly. His chair made a sound on the floor. He walked to the window and looked outside. Everything had stopped. A woman across the street was frozen in mid-step. A car on the road was still, its wheels not turning. A newspaper that had been blowing in the wind was frozen in the air. Sam looked down at the pocket watch in his hand. The blue hands on its face were still moving. The deep ticking continued. But everything else in the entire world had stopped. Sam pushed the knob back to the first position. Instantly, the bird flew past the window. The woman took her next step. The car moved forward. The newspaper blew away. The clock on the wall started ticking again. Sam sat back down in his chair. His hands were shaking. His mouth was dry. He stared at the watch and whispered one word, "Impossible." But it was not impossible. It was real. The watch could stop time. And now Sam had to decide what he was going to do with it. Sam did not sleep that night. He sat on his bed with the watch in his hands and thought about what he had seen. Time had stopped. Everything in the world had frozen except him. It sounded crazy, and if someone had told him this story, he would have laughed at them. But he had seen it with his own eyes. The bird in the sky, the woman on the street, the car on the road, all of it frozen like a photograph. He looked at the watch again, the third position. He had not tried it yet. The first position made the watch run. The second position stopped time. What did the third position do? Sam was curious, but he was also afraid. He decided to wait. He needed to understand the second position first, before he tried anything else. The next morning was Sunday. The shop was closed. Sam got dressed, put the watch in his jacket pocket, and walked outside. People were walking to the market. Children were playing near the fountain, and cars were moving slowly through the narrow road. It was a normal Sunday morning. Sam found a bench in the small park near the bakery. He sat down and looked around. An old man was feeding birds. A young couple was walking their dog. A boy was riding his bicycle in circles on the path. Sam took out the watch. His fingers found the knob. He pulled it to the second position. Everything stopped. The old man was frozen with his hand in the air, seeds falling from his fingers but hanging in the air like tiny brown stars. The couple had stopped mid-step, the dog frozen with one paw up. The boy on the bicycle was leaning to one side, perfectly balanced, even though the wheels were not turning. The birds were frozen in the air around the old man, their wings open wide. Sam stood up from the bench. He walked slowly through the frozen park. There was no wind, no sound, no movement anywhere. It was the most silent thing Sam had ever experienced. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. He walked up to the frozen bird closest to him. He could see every detail of its feathers, every tiny line, every small color. He reached out and touched its wing. It was solid, like a statue. He could not move it. Whatever the watch did, it made everything completely still and hard, like the whole world had turned to stone. Sam walked through the streets. He looked at the frozen people and frozen cars and frozen leaves that had been blowing in the wind. He walked for what felt like 10 minutes, but he was not sure. His own watch on his wrist had stopped too. Only the pocket watch was still ticking. He pushed the knob back to the first position. The world came alive again. Sound rushed back into his ears. Birds sang. Cars moved. People walked and talked. Nobody seemed to notice that anything had happened. Nobody looked confused or lost. For them, no time had passed at all. Sam sat back on the bench and took a deep breath. He now knew two important things. First, when time stopped, only he could move. Second, nobody else knew that time had stopped. For the rest of the world, it was as if nothing had happened. Over the next few days, Sam experimented with the watch. He used it at work when Mr. Gerald was not looking. He would stop time, walk around the frozen shop, and look at things he normally did not have time to see. He found that when time was stopped, he could open doors and pick up small objects, but he could not move anything heavy. He could not move people either. They were frozen solid. He also found that he did not get tired or hungry when time was stopped. He could stop time for what felt like hours, and when he started it again, his body felt the same as before. It was as if the stopped time did not count for him. Sam started using the watch in small ways. When he was late for work, he would stop time and walk to the shop without rushing. When he needed more time to fix a difficult watch, he would stop time and work slowly and carefully. His work got better. Mr. Gerald noticed and said, "You are getting faster, Sam. Good work." Sam just smiled. But Sam was careful. He did not use the watch to do anything bad. He did not steal. He did not go into places he was not allowed. He just used it to give himself more time. That was all. One evening, Sam was walking home from work. The sun was going down, and the sky was orange and pink. He was thinking about dinner when he saw the man again. The tall, thin man in the long black coat. He was standing across the street, under a streetlight, and he was looking straight at Sam. Sam stopped walking. His hand went to his pocket, where the watch was. The man did not move. He just stood there, with that same strange smile on his face. Then he raised one hand and pointed at Sam. No, not at Sam. At Sam's pocket. At the watch. Sam's heart started beating fast. He wanted to run, but his legs would not move. The man lowered his hand, turned around, and walked into a dark alley between two buildings. Sam waited for a moment, then quickly walked home. He locked his door, sat on his bed, and held the watch tightly. Who was that man? What did he want? Did he know about the watch? Did he know what it could do? Sam did not leave his room for the rest of the night. He ate some old bread he had in his cupboard, and drank water from the tap. He kept looking at the door, expecting a knock that never came. The next morning at the shop, Sam decided to ask Mr. Gerald about the man. He described him carefully. Tall, thin, white hair, dark eyes, long black coat. Mr. Gerald listened quietly. When Sam finished, the old man took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. I was hoping nobody would come. Mr. Gerald said softly. What do you mean? Sam asked. Sit down, Sam, Mr. Gerald said. He pointed to the chair behind the counter. Sam sat down. Mr. Gerald locked the front door of the shop and turned the sign to closed. I have not been completely honest with you, Mr. Gerald said. That box with the watch did not just appear at my door by accident. It was sent to me. I know this because I have received a box like that before. A long time ago, when I was about your age. Sam stared at him. You got a watch too? Not a watch, Mr. Gerald said. A compass. A small silver compass that always pointed to what you needed most, not to the north. I had it for 3 years. It changed my life. It helped me find this shop, find my wife, find my place in the world. And then one day, it disappeared from my drawer. Gone. As if it had never existed. What does that have to do with the man in the black coat? Sam asked. Gerald sat down heavily in his chair. The man came to me too, 3 times. The first time, he just watched me from across the street. The second time, he followed me home. The third time, he spoke to me. What did he say? He said that the compass was not a gift, it was a test. He said that objects like the compass, and I suppose like your watch, are very old things. They move from person to person. They find people who need them, but they also attract attention. Bad attention. From who? Sam asked. He did not say. He only said that I should be careful how I used it. He said that every time I used the compass, it sent out a signal, like a light in the dark, and that there were people in the world who could see that light, people who wanted these objects for themselves. Sam felt cold. Every time he stopped time, he was sending out a signal, like a light in the dark, and someone out there could see it. Mr. Gerald, Sam said slowly, how many times have I used the watch? Mr. Gerald looked at him with worried eyes. How many, Sam? Sam counted in his head, the first time in the shop, the time in the park, the times at work, the times walking home. Maybe 15 times, Sam said. Mr. Gerald closed his eyes. Then they already know about you. The man in the coat was the first sign. There will be others, and they will not just watch, Sam. They will come for the watch. And they will not ask nicely. Sam looked down at the watch in his hand. The deep ticking sounded different now. It sounded like a warning, like a countdown. He had thought the watch was a wonderful gift. He had thought it was the luckiest thing that had ever happened to him. Now, he was not so sure. He pushed the watch deep into his pocket and looked at Mr. Gerald. What do I do now? Mr. Gerald stood up and walked to the back of the shop. He opened a cabinet that Sam had never seen him open before. Inside was a small leather notebook, very old, with a strap holding it closed. I have been keeping notes for 40 years, Mr. Gerald said. He handed the notebook to Sam. Everything I learned about the compass, about the man in the coat, about the signals. It is all in here. Read it carefully. And Sam, whatever you do, stop using the watch, at least until you understand what you are dealing with. Sam took the notebook. It was heavy for its size, as if the pages were made of something thicker than paper. One more thing, Mr. Gerald said. The man in the coat. He told me his name. He said his name was Elias, and he said he was not a friend and not an enemy. He said he was a keeper, whatever that means. Sam put the notebook in his other pocket. He now had the watch in one pocket and the notebook in the other. Two objects that were about to change his life in ways he could not yet imagine. That night, Sam sat on his bed and opened the notebook. The first page had only one sentence, written in small, neat handwriting. The objects choose. The keepers watch. The hunters take. Sam read the sentence 3 times. Then he turned the page and began to read. Sam read Mr. Gerald's notebook for 3 days straight. Every night after work, he sat on his bed under the small yellow lamp and turned the old pages carefully. The handwriting was sometimes neat and sometimes messy, as if Mr. Gerald had written some parts calmly and other parts in a hurry. Some pages had drawings, maps, symbols that looked like the ones on the back of the watch. The notebook told a story that was hard to believe, but impossible to ignore. According to Mr. Gerald's notes, there were 12 objects in the world. Nobody knew who made them or when. They were very old, older than any country or language that existed today. Each object had a different power. The compass that Mr. Gerald had could find what a person needed most. The watch could stop time. There was a ring that could make a person invisible, a pen that could make anything written with it come true, a mirror that could show the future, and others that Mr. Gerald had yet to describe. Gerald had only heard about but never seen. The objects moved on their own. They appeared in the lives of ordinary people, people who were struggling, people who were lost, people who needed help. They stayed for a while, sometimes months, sometimes years, and then they disappeared and moved to someone else. No one could keep them forever. But there were people who tried. Mr. Gerald called them the hunters. They were a group of people who had been searching for the 12 objects for hundreds of years. The group was old and powerful, and they had members in every part of the world. They believed that if someone collected all 12 objects and brought them together in one place, the objects would give that person complete control over time, space, and everything in between. The keepers were different. They were people like Elias, the man in the black coat. Their job was to watch over the objects from a distance. They did not try to take the objects or use them. They only made sure the objects moved safely from person to person. They also tried to protect the people who had the objects from the hunters. Sam put down the notebook and looked at the watch on his table. He now understood why Elias had come to the shop that day. He was checking on the watch, making sure it had found its new owner. And he was probably also checking to see if the hunters were nearby. Sam had not used the watch since Mr. Gerald warned him. 5 days without stopping time. It was hard. The temptation was always there. Every time he was running late or needed just a few more minutes to finish something, he thought about pulling the knob. But he remembered Mr. Gerald's words. Every time he used it, he sent out a signal, a light in the dark, and the hunters could see it. On the 6th day, something happened that made it impossible to keep his promise. The streets were getting dark, and most of the shops were closing. He turned into the narrow lane behind the bakery that led to his building. That was when he heard the scream. It came from the alley to his left, a woman's voice, sharp and full of fear. Sam stopped and looked into the alley. It was dark, but he could see shapes moving. 2 large men were standing over a woman who had fallen to the ground. One of them was pulling at her bag. The other one was holding her arm. Sam's body moved before his brain could think. He reached into his pocket and pulled the knob to the second position. The world stopped. The 2 men froze in place. The woman froze on the ground. A cat that had been running away froze in mid-jump. The only sound was the deep ticking of the watch. Sam walked into the alley. He looked at the 2 men. Their faces were hard and mean. She was young, maybe his age, with short dark hair and wide brown eyes that were frozen in a look of terror. Sam could not move the men. They were frozen solid, like everything else. But he could take the woman's bag out of the man's hand. It came loose easily, because the man's grip had not been very strong at the moment time stopped. Sam also pulled the woman's arm, free from the other man's grip. He placed the bag next to the woman. Then he picked up a heavy metal pipe from the ground nearby and placed it right in front of the first man's feet. When time started again, the man would take a step forward and trip over it. Sam stepped back out of the alley and pushed the knob back to the first position. The world came alive. The first man stumbled over the pipe and fell face first onto the ground. The second man was suddenly holding nothing and looked confused. The men cursed and looked around, trying to understand what had just happened. Sam walked away quickly. His heart was pounding. He had used the watch again. The signal had gone out. The light in the dark had turned on. But he had helped someone. He had done the right thing. How could that be wrong? When he got home, Sam locked his door and sat on his bed. He expected to feel guilty, but he did not. He felt good. For the first time since he found the watch, he felt like it was exactly where it was supposed to be. In his hands. The next morning at work, Sam told Mr. Gerald what had happened. The old man listened with a serious face. "You did a good thing," Mr. Gerald said. "But every signal makes them stronger. Every time they feel that light, they get closer to finding you." "I know," Sam said, "but I could not just stand there and watch." Mr. Gerald nodded slowly. "When I had the compass, there were times I used it even when I knew I should not. The objects do not just give you power, Sam. They give you responsibility. And responsibility is a heavy thing to carry." That afternoon, while Sam was working on a clock, the bell above the door rang. Sam looked up and felt his stomach drop. 3 people walked in, 2 men and a woman. They were all dressed in dark gray suits. They all had the same cold, empty expression on their faces, and they all wore a small silver pin on their jackets. The pin was shaped like a hand reaching for a circle. The Hunters. Sam recognized the symbol from Mr. Gerald's notebook. He had drawn it many times on different pages, with notes next to it, like dangerous and do not trust, and they always come in groups of 3. The woman stepped forward. She was tall, with red hair pulled back tight. Her eyes were green and sharp, like a cat's eyes. Her voice was smooth and calm, like someone who was used to getting what she wanted. "We are looking for something that was delivered to this shop about a month ago. A pocket watch. Silver case. Unusual markings." Mr. Gerald did not look at Sam. He kept his face calm and said, "We get many watches here. Can you be more specific?" "I think you know exactly which watch I mean," the woman said. She smiled, but her eyes did not smile. "My name is Dr. Vera Stone. My colleagues and I work for a private collection agency. We recover lost and stolen objects of historical value. The watch I am describing is extremely old and extremely valuable. It belongs to our client, and we have been authorized to retrieve it." "I do not have any watch like that," Mr. Gerald said. "You are welcome to look around the shop if you like." Dr. Stone looked around the shop slowly. Her eyes moved over the walls of clocks and the cases of watches. Then her eyes stopped on Sam. She stared at him for a long moment. Sam tried not to look away, but it was hard. Her gaze felt like it could see through walls. "And who are you?" she asked. "I work here," Sam said. "I fix watches." "Just a repairman," she said. It was not a question. She said it like she did not believe it. She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small card. She placed it on the counter. "If you happen to find a watch that matches my description, please call this number. There is a generous reward for its return. Very generous." She turned and walked toward the door. The 2 men followed her without saying a word. At the door, Dr. Stone stopped and looked back at Sam one more time. "I should tell you," she said, "that the watch is not just valuable, it is dangerous. Very dangerous in the wrong hands. People have been hurt by it before. People have disappeared because of it. If you find it, the safest thing you can do is give it to us." Then she walked out. The bell rang, the door closed, and Sam let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. Mr. Gerald picked up the card from the counter and looked at it. Then he tore it in half and threw it in the trash. "They will be back," he said. "They always come back. And next time, they will not be so polite." Sam touched his pocket. The watch was there, warm and ticking. He thought about what Dr. Stone had said. People have been hurt. People have disappeared. He thought about the woman in the alley that he had saved last night. He thought about the signal he had sent out. He thought about the hunters who had now found his shop. And he realized something that made his blood go cold. He was not just the owner of a magic watch anymore. He was the target in a game that had been going on for hundreds of years. A game with no rules and no mercy. "Gerald, I need to read the rest of your notebook tonight. All of it." Mr. Gerald nodded. "Yes, you do. Because tomorrow, everything changes." Sam read the rest of Mr. Gerald's notebook that night. The last 20 pages were different from the rest. The handwriting was shakier, and some words were crossed out and rewritten. Mr. Gerald had written these pages recently, maybe in the last few weeks, after the watch arrived at the shop. The most important part was about the third position of the knob. Mr. Gerald had never seen the watch himself, but he had heard about it from Elias during their last conversation years ago. Elias had told him that the watch had 3 powers. The first position made it run like a normal watch. The second position stopped time. And the third position did something much more dangerous. It moved the user backward in time. But there was a warning. A big one. Going backward in time was not like stopping time. When time was stopped, Sam was the only one who could move. And when it started again, everything went back to normal. Nobody noticed. Going backward was different. Going backward could change things, and change things did not always change for the better. Elias had told Mr. Gerald a story about a woman who had the watch 100 years ago. She used the third position to go back one day to save her brother from drowning in a river. She saved him, but when she came back to the present, her house was gone. Her family did not recognize her. The world had changed in small ways that added up to big differences. She spent the rest of her life in a world that was almost the same as hers, but not quite. She never felt at home again. Sam closed the notebook. He looked at the watch on the table. The third position. He would not touch it. Not ever. He made that promise to himself, and he meant it. The next morning, Sam went to work early. He wanted to talk to Mr. Gerald before the shop opened. But when he turned the corner onto the street where the shop was, he stopped. The front window of the shop was broken. The door was hanging from one hinge. Glass was scattered all over the sidewalk. Sam ran inside. The shop was destroyed. Every clock on the wall had been pulled down and smashed. Every drawer had been pulled out and emptied. Watches and gears and springs were spread all over the floor like metal rain. The counter was cracked in half, and Mr. Gerald was sitting in the corner, on the floor, with blood on his face. Sam knelt beside him. "Mr. Gerald, what happened? Who did this?" Mr. Gerald opened his eyes slowly. One of them was swollen shut. His lip was cut. His hands were shaking. "They came last night," he said. His voice was weak. "After you left. 3 of them. The same ones from yesterday. They wanted the watch. I told them I did not have it. They did not believe me." "We need to call an ambulance," Sam said. "No," Mr. Gerald said firmly. "No hospitals, no police. These people are above the law, Sam. They have connections everywhere. If we call the police, Dr. Stone will know everything. She will know you have the watch." "They hurt you," Sam said. His voice was shaking with anger. "They destroyed your shop." "The shop can be fixed," Mr. Gerald said. He grabbed Sam's arm with a surprising strength. "Listen to me. Elias left me a message once. He said that if the hunters ever got too close, I should go to the old cathedral on the hill at the edge of town. He said the cathedral was a safe place. The hunters cannot enter it. Why not? I do not know. Something about the building itself. Elias said it was built on a place where the objects have special protection. The cathedral is very old, older than the town itself. Go there, Sam. Take the watch and go. I am not leaving you here like this, Sam said. I will be fine, Mr. Gerald said. He managed a small smile, though it clearly hurt. I have survived worse than this. I survived losing the compass. I survived 40 years of waiting. I can survive a few bruises. But you need to go now, before they come back. Sam helped Mr. Gerald to his feet and into the back room, where there was a small sofa. He brought him water and a clean cloth for his face. Then he took the notebook from his pocket and looked at the old man. Thank you, Sam said, for everything. Thank me by staying alive, Mr. Gerald said. And Sam, remember what I told you. Do not use the third position, no matter what happens. The price is too high. Sam nodded. He put the notebook in his jacket, felt the watch in his pocket, and walked out of the destroyed shop. The cathedral was on the other side of town, on top of a hill that most people in town never visited. It was an old stone building with a tall tower and dark windows. It had not been used as a church for many years. People said it was haunted, which kept everyone away. Sam walked fast through the streets. He kept looking over his shoulder, expecting to see Dr. Stone or her men following him. But the streets were just normal streets, with normal people going about their normal lives. Nobody was following him. At least, nobody he could see. It took him 40 minutes to reach the hill. The path up was narrow and covered with old leaves. The trees on both sides were thick and dark. At the top, the cathedral stood like a giant, made of gray stone. Up close, it was bigger than Sam had expected. The walls were covered in carvings of faces and animals and symbols. Sam recognized some of the symbols. They were the same ones on the back of the watch. The main door was huge and made of dark wood, with iron handles. Sam pulled one of the handles, and the door opened with a low groan. He stepped inside. The cathedral was cold and dark. Light came through the tall windows, but it was weak and gray. The floor was stone, and Sam's footsteps echoed as he walked forward. Rows of old wooden benches stretched out on both sides of a center path that led to the front of the building, where a large stone table stood on a raised platform. Sam walked slowly to the front. As he got closer to the stone table, the watch in his pocket began to grow warm. Not hot like before, but warm and steady, like it was happy, like it recognized this place. Sam took out the watch. The blue hands were glowing softly. The symbols on the back were glowing too. He placed the watch on the stone table. The moment it touched the surface, something happened. The carvings on the walls began to glow. One by one, the symbols lit up with a soft golden light. The cathedral filled with a warm glow that chased away the cold and the dark. It was beautiful, like standing inside a lantern. Then a voice spoke. "You found it." Sam spun around. Elias was standing at the back of the cathedral, near the door. He was still wearing his long black coat. His white hair caught the golden light. But his face was different now. It was not mysterious or cold. It looked tired, sad even. "The cathedral responds to the objects," Elias said, walking forward slowly. "It has not glowed like this in a very long time. Not since the last person brought an object here. That was over 60 years ago." "Who are you?" Sam asked. "Really, not just a keeper. Who are you?" Elias stopped a few feet from Sam. He looked at the watch on the stone table, and something like longing passed over his face. "I am old, Sam. Much older than I look. The keepers do not age the way normal people do. We are connected to the objects, even though we cannot use them. We feel them. We know when they move, when they are used, when they are in danger. Mr. Gerald said you told him the cathedral was safe, Sam said. Why? Because this building was built by the first keepers thousands of years ago. It sits on a point where the energy of the objects is strongest. Inside these walls, the objects cannot be detected. The hunters cannot feel them here, and the hunters themselves feel great pain if they try to enter. It is the one place in the world where the objects are completely hidden. Sam looked at the glowing walls. So the watch is safe here. The watch is safe, Elias said. But you cannot stay here forever, Sam. And the hunters know your face now. They know where you work. They will find where you live. Dr. Stone is patient, but she is not kind. She will do whatever it takes to get the watch. What am I supposed to do? Sam asked. Elias looked at him for a long time. Then he said something that Sam did not expect. There is another way to stop the hunters. But it is dangerous, and it requires something that I have never asked anyone to do before, Elias said. Tell me, Sam said. The 12 objects, when they are apart, are powerful but limited. The watch stops time. The compass finds things. The ring hides. But when 2 or more objects are brought together, they become stronger, much stronger, and they can do things that neither object can do alone. You want me to find another object? Sam said. Elias nodded. There is one nearby, closer than you think, and it has been waiting for someone to come for it. But finding it will mean using the watch again, and every time you use it, the hunters will feel it. Gerald's notebook. He handed it to Sam. Sam unfolded it. It was a map, a simple drawing of the town with one spot marked with a red circle. The spot was the old library on Park Street, a building that had been closed for years. The pen, Elias said. The pen that makes anything written with it come true. It is hidden in the library. It has been there for 23 years, waiting. Sam folded the map and put it in his pocket. With the notebook, the watch, and the map now in hand, he had a mission. He walked toward the door of the cathedral. At the door he stopped and looked back at Elias. If I do this, Sam said, if I find the pen and bring it back here, what happens then? Elias smiled. This time it was a real smile. A tired, sad, hopeful smile. Then we fight back. Sam left the cathedral as the sun was beginning to set. The sky was turning dark purple, and the air was getting cold. He pulled his jacket tight and walked down the hill quickly. The map in his pocket felt heavier than a piece of paper should feel. The old library on Park Street. That was where the pen was hidden. That was where he needed to go. But not tonight. Tonight Sam needed to think. He needed a plan. The hunters knew his face. They knew where he worked. They probably already knew where he lived. Walking into the old library without a plan would be stupid, and Sam could not afford to be stupid right now. He went back to his room above the bakery. He locked the door, pushed his small table against it, and sat on his bed. He took out the watch, the notebook, and the map, and spread them all on the bed in front of him. He studied the map. The old library was on the south side of town, about a 20-minute walk from his room. It had been closed for 5 years after a fire damaged the top floor. Nobody had bothered to fix it, and now it just sat there, empty and dark, with boards over the windows and a chain on the front door. Sam made his plan. He would go early in the morning, before the sun came up, when the streets were empty. He would use the watch to stop time just once, get inside the library, find the pen, and get out. One use, one signal, quick and clean. He set his alarm for 4 in the morning and tried to sleep. It took a long time. Every small sound made him jump. The creaking of the old building, the wind against the window, a car passing on the street below. But finally tiredness won, and he fell into a restless sleep filled with dreams of glowing symbols and men in gray suits. The alarm woke him in the dark. Sam got dressed quickly, put everything in his pockets, and left his room. The stairs down to the street were dark and narrow. Outside, the town was asleep. The streetlights made small circles of yellow light on the empty sidewalks. Not a single person was in sight. Sam walked south. His footsteps sounded too loud in the silence. Every few minutes, he looked behind him to check if anyone was following. Nobody was there. Just empty streets and dark windows. He reached Park Street in 15 minutes. The old library was at the end of the street, standing alone behind a rusty iron fence. It was a big building, 3 floors, made of red brick that had turned dark with age and smoke damage from the fire. The windows on the top floor were black and broken. The lower windows had wooden boards nailed over them. Sam climbed over the fence easily. He crossed the small yard, which was full of dead weeds and broken glass, and went to the side of the building, where he had seen a small door on the map. The door was there, half hidden by a dead bush. It was locked with an old padlock. His fingers found the knob. He pulled it to the second position. The world stopped. The silence was instant and complete. Even the wind stopped. The dead weeds stood perfectly still. A leaf that had been falling from a tree hung in the air like it was glued there. Sam looked at the padlock. In frozen time, he could not move heavy things, but he could move small things. He looked around and found a thin piece of metal on the ground, part of an old fence post. He tried to work it into the padlock the way he had seen in movies. It did not work. The padlock was rusted shut. Sam looked around for another way in. He walked along the side of the building and found a basement window that was cracked. He pushed on it, and the glass broke away in pieces that hung frozen in the air around his hand, sparkling in the early morning darkness. He pushed through the broken window frame carefully, avoiding the sharp edges, and dropped down into the basement. It was pitch black. Sam pulled out his phone and turned on the light. The basement was full of old boxes and broken furniture. Water stains covered the walls, and the air smelled like mold and old paper. Sam found the stairs and went up to the main floor. The library was a sad, empty place. All the books had been removed after the fire. The shelves were still there, but they were empty and dusty. The floor was covered with ash and dirt, and pieces of the ceiling that had fallen down. Sam's footsteps left prints in the dust as he walked through the rows of empty shelves. According to Elias's map, the pen was hidden somewhere on the second floor, in a room marked with a small X. Sam found the main staircase and went up. The stairs groaned under his feet, even in frozen time. He was the only thing that could move, so everything he touched could be affected. The second floor was in worse shape than the first. The fire had reached here, and many of the shelves were black and burned. Parts of the ceiling had caved in, letting in the gray light from outside. Sam moved carefully, stepping over fallen beams and piles of burned wood. He found the room from the map. It was a small office at the back of the second floor, probably where the librarian had worked. The door was half open. Inside there was a desk, a chair, and a filing cabinet, all covered in a thick layer of dust and ash. Sam searched the desk first. The drawers were empty, except for old papers that crumbled when he touched them. He searched the filing cabinet. Nothing. He searched the floor, the walls, the ceiling. Nothing. Then he looked at the desk again. It was a heavy wooden desk with carved legs. On the bottom of the desk, someone had carved a small circle, inside a circle, inside another circle. The same symbol that was on the back of the watch. Sam ran his fingers over the carving. He felt a small bump in the center. He pressed it. A tiny drawer popped out from the side of the desk. A secret compartment that was invisible unless you knew where to look. Inside the drawer was a pen. It was simple looking, a thin silver pen, about the length of his hand, with the same symbols carved along its side. It felt cool to the touch, unlike the warmth of the watch. When Sam picked it up, a small spark of blue light jumped between the pen and the watch in his pocket. Both objects hummed for a moment, like two old friends meeting after a long time apart. Sam put the pen in his inside jacket pocket, close to his chest. He had it. Now he needed to get out. He went back down the stairs, through the basement, and out the broken window. He climbed over the fence and stood on Park Street. The frozen world was still silent and gray around him. He pushed the knob back to the first position. The world came alive. The wind blew. The leaf fell. The early morning sounds of the town returned. Somewhere, a bird started singing. Sam walked fast. He needed to get back to the cathedral before the hunters felt the signal. He moved through the empty streets with his head down and his hands in his pockets, holding the watch in one hand and the pen in the other. 2 of the 12 objects, together. He was halfway to the cathedral when he saw them. Dr. Stone was standing at the corner of the main road, directly in his path. She was not alone. 5 people were with her, all in dark gray suits, all with a silver pin on their jackets. They were spread across the road like a wall. Dr. Stone stepped forward. "I felt that," she said. Her green eyes were bright with excitement. That was not just the watch. Something else woke up. Something nearby. She looked at Sam's jacket. "You found another one, did you not?" Sam stopped. His heart was racing. He was still 10 minutes from the cathedral. 10 minutes of open road and narrow streets with no place to hide. "Give us the objects," Dr. Stone said. "Both of them. And you can walk away. No one needs to get hurt." Sam looked at her. He looked at the 5 people behind her. They were all watching him with the same cold, empty expression. They were trained. They were ready. He could not fight 6 people. But he had the watch. Sam pulled the knob to the second position. The world stopped. Dr. Stone froze mid-sentence. The 5 hunters froze in place. A car on the road froze. A flag on a building froze in mid-wave. Sam ran. He ran through the frozen streets as fast as he could, past the frozen people, past the frozen cars, past the frozen world. His lungs burned and his legs ached, but he did not stop. He could not stop. He reached the hill. He ran up the narrow path through the dark trees. He reached the cathedral. He pulled the heavy door open and stumbled inside. The moment he crossed the doorway, both the watch and the pen began to glow. The symbols on the walls lit up in golden light again, brighter than before. The cathedral filled with warmth and light. Sam pushed the knob back to the first position. The world started again outside, but inside the cathedral, he was safe. The hunters could not enter. The objects could not be detected. Sam fell to his knees on the stone floor, breathing hard. He took out the pen and placed it on the stone table next to the watch. The 2 objects glowed brighter when they were close to each other. The blue light from the watch mixed with a silver light from the pen, creating a soft, white glow that filled the whole building. Elias stepped out from the shadows near the back wall. He looked at the 2 objects on the table, and for the first time since Sam had met him, the old keeper looked something close to happy. "You did it," Elias said. "The hunters are outside," Sam said, still breathing hard. "Dr. Stone and 5 others. They are right behind me." "They cannot come in," Elias said. "Not while the objects are here. This place will hold." Sam stood up slowly. He looked at the 2 glowing objects on the stone table. The watch that could stop time. The pen that could make anything written come true. Together, they hummed with a power that Sam could feel in his teeth, in his bones, in the air itself. "What now?" Sam asked. Elias walked to the stone table and looked down at the objects. "Now we plan. The hunters want all 12 objects. They have been searching for centuries. But they have never had someone like you, Sam. Someone the objects chose. Someone who can carry them and use them." "You want me to find the rest," Sam said. It was not a question. "Not all of them," Elias said. "Just enough to tip the balance. 3 objects together can create a shield that will protect the rest. 4 objects can undo the hunter's ability to sense them. 5 objects together can change the rules of the game entirely. Sam looked at the watch and the pen. 2 down, 10 to go. Outside, Dr. Stone and her hunters were waiting. The world did not know that a war was being fought in its shadows. A war over objects older than history. A war between those who wanted to control everything and those who just wanted to keep the world safe. Sam picked up the watch and put it in his pocket. He picked up the pen and put it in his jacket. The glow faded, but the warmth stayed. "Tell me where the next one is," Sam said. Elias smiled that tired, hopeful smile again. He reached into his coat and pulled out another old piece of paper. Another map. Another red circle. "The ring," Elias said. "The ring that makes you invisible. It is in a city 200 miles from here, in a museum that does not know what it has." Sam took the map and looked at it. A new city, a new object, a new danger. He folded the map and put it with the others. Then he looked at Elias and said something that surprised even himself. "I am ready." And for the first time in his life, Sam meant it. He was not just a repairman who fixed broken things anymore. He was the person the objects had chosen. He was the one who was going to fight back. The cathedral stood quiet on the hill, its walls dark from the outside, but full of light within. Inside, a young man and an ancient keeper sat together and planned for what was to come. Outside, the hunters waited in the cold morning air, patient and dangerous as always. In many ways, it had just begun.